Good afternoon. This is the Desert Shaman coming to you from the Southwest. And the area in the Southwest would be the southern tip of Nevada, the Shaman's Den. I'm going to talk about hypnosis today. But before I get into that, I want to mention briefly here that I recently did a video for somebody. They asked me to do a video on something, and I did a video on that topic that they were asking me about. And I got a good donation from that person, so thank you. And so I would just like to say at this time that if anybody else has a topic that they want more detail on, that may be something I've talked about in the past, some spiritual insight or just some insight in general on anything in their personal life, I will do a video specifically for you. I will tailor that video to you, and I might also add or embellish upon whatever questions it is that you ask me, whatever question, topic, whatever. That helps me. I like to get donations now and then to keep food on the table, that type thing. So, and you know, it does cost money to have computers and webcams and do videos. So, and I've been doing them for a long time. So, if you could see it in your heart to donate, or like I say, I even give readings to people, personal readings, that can be done as well with the show notes. If you look in the show notes in the bottom of this video, spiritofcrazyhorse.com. I wanted to get this stuff out of the way because a lot of people don't hang around to the end of the video. So I'll just get it in now and say my piece about that. So today we're going to talk about hypnosis. And the question might arise is, what is hypnosis? I just reread a great book called Hypnotizing Maria by Richard Bach. If you haven't read that book, you should. But it's not anything that I haven't talked about in some way, shape, or form at other times, as far as trances, being in trance, putting yourself in trance, other people putting you in trance, shamanistic trances, and that type of thing. So what is hypnosis? What is the simple definition of hypnosis? Well, the simple definition of hypnosis is a suggestion accepted. A suggestion that is accepted. So let's look at that a minute. Now, when we're raised from childhood, we are open to suggestion. Suggestion after suggestion after suggestion. And usually if we're at a tender age, or before we get to the age of knowing what we're doing, we accept these suggestions. And so that becomes our life. Basically, when you're raised in society, and your parents and your friends and those who surround you offer suggestions or offer their explanation for something, it's a suggestion that that is true. And so what do when we're impressionable? We accept that suggestion. We go, okay, I accept that. Because we're little, we don't know any better. Now let's fast forward a little bit to later on in life and what's going on in the world today and how that could affect us today in our everyday life. And we also give ourselves suggestions based upon the suggestions that we accepted before. So suggestions form a belief system, basically. You believe what has been suggested to you by others. You bought into it, you accepted it. It's acceptance, okay? Now, again, let's fast forward to everyday life here. What do we have in everyday life? Well, we have constant suggestions being offered to us by the world around us and by the mainstream media and by different media sources. Most of it is online. There are no newspapers anymore, so forget that. So basically our suggestions come from the mainstream media. Now, when you offer a suggestion and you accept it, it's a form of adding to your overall trance that you're in. Or it can refortify a trance that you're in, or it can be something totally different. But at any rate, that's what it amounts to. Hypnosis is suggestions accepted. You don't have to accept suggestions. So let's say somebody is going to a show of a hypnotist, and that hypnotist is a polished professional one, and he calls somebody up on the stage, and they come up on the stage, and he says, he has maybe 2 or 3 people come up on stage, and they're standing there, and he has certain techniques which allow him to offer suggestions to people and have them accept those suggestions. And not everybody is predisposed. Some people are doubtful. Some people are afraid. Some people are just not open to suggestion. And so the hypnotist might have to work a little bit harder. And the way it works is by slowly putting that person into a trance-like state. And if the initial suggestion doesn't work, then he offers an alternative, or he may even touch a person on the shoulder, or he may snap his fingers, or he may talk in a monotone voice to make the person drowsy. Any number of techniques could be used. Now let me explain to you how real hypnosis can be. So if the hypnotist is a good one, he can say things like to a person, he can put them under on stage in front of everybody. And I've actually seen this happen live at a show. A few shows I've seen this happen live, and as a matter of fact, as a musician, I used to back a hypnotist and watch him do all kinds of things to people. Things like I'm talking about. He will offer a suggestion such as you're in a room and you're in a cell, or you're on the beach, or you're flying in an airplane, or whatever. He'll offer a suggestion to them, and they accept this suggestion through the methods that he uses. And next thing you know, they think they're in a room, like one with 4 walls, or a prison cell, or on the beach. And it's as real to them as you sitting in your living room and watching me, or you sitting in your living room and talking to somebody, or you thinking that you're sitting in your living room, or wherever. So you know, if you're on the beach, you will hear waves crashing, probably seagulls chirping. If you're in a cell, you will see a brick wall, you will see bars on the wall. And when you go to touch the wall, it will be as solid as if you reached out and touched the wall in front of you, or your chair, or the desk, or anything. How does that happen? The mind is been offered a suggestion and it accepts it, just like when we accept the fact that we're in a world, or that we're on the planet Earth, or that we're in our room. Where do you think all these objects came from? Excuse me. Where do you think all these objects came from? In the ether that surrounds us, we form our own conceptions of what has been offered to us all our life. So if we learned something was a wall when we were a kid, or if we learned something was a chair, or if we learned that something was a window or a glass window, and we also learned at that particular time through being convinced of that that was solid, that wasn't something that you could walk through. You can't walk through walls, supposedly, or can you? Now, that is another form of a suggestion being accepted, because at some point you learned that walls are solid, and this is liquid, and water is liquid, and air is fluid, and so you learned all these different things and you accepted them, and through the years they were reinforced over and over and over again, to the point where there was no doubt in your mind that that's what was going on. So what a hypnotist does is, when he gets the person on stage, he convinces them that, and it doesn't take a lifetime. It doesn't take a lifetime. It only takes a few minutes. It only takes 5 minutes, maybe. He convinces them that whatever he says is real. Puts them in a trance. And let me just say, we're all in a trance. We're all in a trance already. So when a hypnotist works, he may pull you out of the trance that you're in and put you in another trance, or an alternative trance. And sometimes shamans call this an alternative reality, or an alternative worldview, or whatever. So when you're in this trance on stage, and the hypnotist puts you under, and he says there's 4 walls around you and you can't get out, the only way that you're going to get out is that these walls are going to disappear. Or let's say you're on the beach, the only way the beach is going to disappear, or let's say he's got you on a desert island surrounded by water, the only way that you're going to get out of that is if he brings you out of it. He brings you out of the trance that he puts you in, and he can offer suggestions while you're in the trance. So he may say, I'm going to count to 3 and snap my fingers, and you will be back to where you were before. And he'll go 1, 2, 3, snap his fingers, and boom, you're out of it. You're all of a sudden, where am I? I'm back here on stage. I'm not on the beach, or I'm not in a cell, or in a room, or desert island, or wherever he had you. Now, you need to think about this deeply, because we offer our self-suggestions. Our subconscious mind, or our thoughts, are constantly offering us suggestions. And so we should be aware of the thoughts that we have. You could look at the thoughts or the subconscious mind as a hypnotist. And that hypnotist is trying to convince you of certain things in your life. So if you're trying to work on a project, or build a cabinet, or doing something like that, and a thought comes up or a suggestion comes up, oh, this is really hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to complete this, or whatever. A thought like that might come up. Well, then that's a suggestion, and you have to know right then whether you're going to accept that suggestion or reject it. See, that's the key here. That's the key. The key is, am I going to accept all the suggestions that are offered to me by myself? Or are you going to go to your higher self? See, that's where the higher self comes in, and I've talked about this before. That's where standing in awareness comes in. Because when you're standing in awareness, you can see, basically you could see who you are standing there, and what your thoughts are, and whether that self that you're seeing when you're standing outside yourself is predisposed to accepting that kind of suggestion. And you can also see the thought, and you can see everything. Okay, so when you're more aware, when you're on a higher level of consciousness, you are aware of suggestions that come up from yourself, and you can either reject them or say, I reject that, or if it's a good suggestion having to do with wellness or success or anything, then you can say to yourself, I accept that suggestion. Now, when you get into the habit of looking at thoughts and rejecting or accepting, you find out that you have much more control over what we call life. You have much more control. You manifest things differently. So would you rather just be a robot that automatically accepts every suggestion that arises in your mind, or are you going to be empowered to be the captain of your own ship? Are you going to be empowered to make decisions? And these decisions sometimes have to be just instant, and then let them go. I accept that, or I reject that. I accept that, and then let it go. Don't sit there and dwell on it as to, well, should I accept that, or should I reject that? Because you know inherently in your soul and in your psyche what is really good for you. So if some type of suggestion is making life more difficult, or trying to throw some kind of negative into your life. Don't you know that right away? But see, people don't even know when suggestions are being offered. Suggestions come up and are accepted, and they just go along in their everyday life. And suggestions that have been suggested to us in the past are constantly reinforced by suggestions of, let's say, surroundings. Surroundings can suggest, right? Surroundings, if you look at a wall, what does that suggesting to you? Well, it's suggesting that it's solid, right? Or if you look at a glass of water, what is that suggesting to you? The water is liquid. So the original suggestions that were offered to you that you accepted, the suggestions are being offered over and over and over and over again, and they're being reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. And there could be millions of these things a day. Just look around you. You got a chair, a wall, the sky, people, airplanes, trains, automobiles, how they work, this and that, energy, lights, electricity, all kinds of things are bombarding you from the past that you have accepted as that's what that is. When in reality it might not be that at all. And when in reality nothing is as it seems. And what do I mean by that? Well, nothing is solid, number one. I mean, you know, if you go into depth about how things are constructed in atoms and molecules, molecular structure, and atoms, protons and electrons, and the movement of energy through the ether and the atmosphere and all that, well, you're going to find out nothing is solid. You're not even solid. You're composed of many, many, many particles. And so when you perceive something like a wall, it's just basically molecular structure that is packed in, supposedly. There's another suggestion, see? See how insidious suggestions are? Who's to say that all that about the molecular structure and the atoms and everything, but we do know that it's just all energy. It's all energy. It's all an illusion. So that's why I like Richard Bach's books, Hypnotizing Maria and Illusions, Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah with the barnstorming Messiah Donald Shimoda. That's the genius of Richard Bach. That's the shamanistic, masterful genius of the storytelling and the writing of Richard Bach. He also wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and I think he wrote a book, if I'm not mistaken, A Bridge Across Forever. But what he does is he calls attention to, he is a great storyteller, let's put it that way, and he knows how to craft things in a way that is entertaining, comical, and gets the point across. Now, I won't go on too much longer with this, but that's how hypnosis works that's That's how the deep state, and that's how the powers to be, and that's how the mainstream media creates an overlay or an alternative reality or a hypnotic effect or actual trance on the populace. And so when you ask yourself that question about why is everybody so dumbed down, or why is everybody so off on wild tangents and doing crazy things, you have to realize that every one of these people are themselves victims of hypnosis. And what do? They go into their worldview and they try to project that on others, like, let's say, the New World Order, or we have to have wars, or we have to have politics, or we have to have nationalism. You have to be proud of countries, borders, all this good shit comes from exactly what I'm just telling you here. So you might get a clue then as to why people are batshit crazy, and why the mainstream media and all these weird stories of what is the real thrust, what is the real intention behind all this. Because that's the effect that it has on you is very important. How it affects you. How it affects, you're already in a trance already. And so what they're going to do is they're going to reinforce the status quo, or and then they're going to take the status quo and extrapolate off the status quo and bend it and manipulate it and take it farther and farther out, reinforce certain things, suggest certain things that you've already accepted, and link up other ideas that could possibly be accepted just because you accepted former things. They know how to link things up. They know how to do all of this stuff. They know how to brainwash, hypnotize. So woe to mankind, because mankind is caught in a hypnotic trap. So what you have to do as a person, the best thing that you can do is to be aware and to constantly question whether you want to accept certain suggestions that are offered to you. By outside yourself and inside yourself. I often said you're your own worst enemy sometimes. So that's how I mean it, We have inner dialogue with ourselves, and that inner dialogue can rant on, and it can get angry, or it can get sad, or it can get happy, or it can get joyful, or it can get erotic, or whatever that inner dialogue is. Where is that inner dialogue coming from? Where is it coming from? It's coming from the programmed self, the hypnotized, tranced out self. So hypnotize yourself. Only you might want to look at it as dehypnotizing yourself. You've been hypnotized. You've got all these thoughts. So dehypnotize yourself completely. That is a form of enlightenment. That is a form of standing in awareness and increasing your frequency to a higher level so that you are able to do this. You are able to see the whole process in action. So that's my offering for today. I want to keep the video short, and if it drags on, then it's harder on me to upload, and it's harder for you to remember and all that good stuff. So I'll leave that. That'll be my offering for today. Now I offer you something that can help you. If you feel like that you want to help me, you can increase the algorithms by liking the video, and you can go to spiritofcrazyhorse.com and make a small donation or a large donation for all that, for that matter. If you appreciate what I do, then that's up to you. I hope you understand that I've been here a long time, and I'll be here as long as I can, offering my viewpoint and trying to enlighten the masses. So I guess I'll just leave it there today and say adios. It is a nice windy day here in the desert, and a good day to do something like this. Later.